traveled across the globe to Coolangatta, Australia to find out just how Cooly rocks on. Welcome to Tailfins and Crows.
Coolangatta, one of the best places in the country to be at this time of year. Look, the sun shining, blue skies, fantastic. It's got the beaches, it's got accommodation, and we've got 1,300 cars. It's great, it's great. Started 26 years ago. I actually think it started as a boat race 26 years ago down the Tweed River, and it evolved to become show cars. I think they started with about 12 cars, 12 enthusiasts, working its way right up. It used to be called Winter Sun. 3 years ago, Winter Sun decided it wanted to go elsewhere. Much to our enjoyment, we started up Cooly Rocks On. The local community got together, put a committee together, started up Cooly Rocks On, and I think our first year we had about 1,000 cars. This year, 1,300 plus cars and thousands upon thousands of people. Fantastic. My favourite part of the event has got to be the people in the streets and the smiles on their faces, the magnificence that makes the cars are. Just a whole lot of the festival. It's like stepping back in time, I guess, onto a set of Happy Days, the TV series. It's absolutely fantastic.
With over 1,300 classic cars on display, our first stop brings us to the Australians' classic Holden.
Here we have the EJ and EH Holden Car Club of Queensland. As you can see here today, we've got a really good show of the EJ and the EH models. We're actually celebrating this year the 50th anniversary of the EH, first released in August of 1963. So we're celebrating that this year in August. We've got 50 years of motoring on these cars. You know, whether they're modified or in their original form, we've got a large following in the car club of people with these vehicles. We like to get them out and give them a run every now and again. They go on various different runs here and there. The most popular is the sedans of them. We have utes, panel vans, all sorts of different aspects of modifications with the vehicles within the club, and people just basically love to get these cars out and give them a run, enjoy them for what they are. And they're a beautiful Australian car to drive. The EH is an Australian icon. It's well known throughout Australia. Everybody in Australia seems to know about the EH Holden at some point in time. They've had a good either somebody they've known has had one or has had one restored. They're just a really popular Australian car for the 60s era. There's quite a few similarities with the Holdens as to some of the American cars, particularly the Chevs and that, like things like door handles, interior, exterior. Most of them are very similar in design to that. Most of the Australian stuff was designed off American stuff in the early days, so there is a lot of similarities there between the Australian classic cars and American classic cars, definitely.
Well, this is actually a 1962-63 taxi. It's an EJ Holden. It's actually been on the road. I've restored it about 3.5 years ago. It's been on the road ever since. It's done a few thousand Ks. As you can probably see with all the bits and pieces that are in here, it's a genuine taxi fit out. All the interior's been done with the taxi meters, the radio, everything's the original that they used to have in the actual thing. This was one of a few that were actually radio controlled. So they used to do a lot of radio jobs between the airports and the eastern suburbs in New South Wales, in Sydney. And it's just something I have always loved since I was 13 years old. I used to love the colours, used to love the environment that they used to be in, and I thought, well, that's it, one day when I build another one, I'm going to rebuild a taxi, and that's what we've got. We end up getting the taxi done. Well, in 1963, it used to be a 20-cent flagfall and 17 cents a mile. That included the first 150 metres. And I've been told there's a few little ways that I can jig the meter on these things. A couple of taxi riders have shown me, not that I try, but yeah, they sort of, when they're looking around, they bang the meter a couple of times and drops a couple of extra shillings in there. So there's ways of doing it, but I haven't tried them yet.
Tail Fins and Chrome magazine, the human interest side of all things automotive, vintage cars, classic people, exclusive video content. Available nationwide at Barnes & Noble or download on iTunes Newsstand. Visit us online at tailfinsandchrome.com.
Welcome back to a very special episode of Tailfins and Chrome Down Under at Cooly Rocks On in Gold Coast, Australia.
Coolangatta has always been a popular tourist destination, popular because of its surf. A lot of surfy people congregate here. In the 50s and 60s when I was growing up, there was a lot of 2 or 3 dance halls there that were very popular. And they say, an old radio ad used to say it's hot in Brisbane, but it's Coolangatta here.
Car scene in Australia is very strong. I know the world economy's been pretty ordinary, but the car scene has still developed in our field of cars over the last 10 years. It's got stronger, I feel. It's a 1960 Coupe de Ville Cadillac. I bought it in LA at a car show at Garden Grove one Friday night in 2010. It's a nice old car. I've painted it myself at home, and it's come up quite a nice car. I bought the new tyres for it in the States so we could have white walls. Got to have them. It's factory 390 cube, 4-speed auto, nice car. Done all the brakes on the car as well to make it just that little bit easier to stop. They weigh about 2.5 tonnes, so they take a bit of pulling up. I personally feel that it's what you've put into the car and how it's put together, and then you can evaluate it from there. From when you buy it, whether you buy it at top shelf or bottom shelf. I've been a dealer myself, and I like to buy things for what I think it's worth, and then you go along and make it nice, and then when you sell it to the person that wants to buy it for what they think it's worth. It's just a soft spot in my heart. I'm lucky enough to have a garage big enough to put it in. There's a lot of American classic here, but we've got some very good Australian classic cars here, some of which have been exported now to America because the guys in America didn't get the same sort of vehicles as we did.
The classic car culture in Australia is very strong, very hard now to find good straight bodies to work with, so the value in cars like this now is getting quite high, and very hard to get a good starting block, like a car that has not sustained a lot of damage and is not rusty and is a good place to start. And then all the parts now, a lot of repo parts have been made now where you can get reproduction parts, especially for the GTs. If you want to make a GT up from a Falcon 500, you can buy all the parts that you require now from companies like Rare Spares and muscle cars agents around the place. A lot of companies now are specialising in the reproduction parts for these cars, and they're very popular, and like I said, and also getting very, very hard to get. Okay, this car's a 1970 XW GT Falcon. It has a 351 Cleveland engine, makes about 500 horsepower, has a C4 transmission, fully manualised, and a full strange rear end, billet axles, F350 tail shaft, disc brake, four-wheel disc brakes. All the brakes have been upgraded from standard, and yeah, it's just a real neat car. When I bought the car, I bought it off a guy, and he'd spent a lot of time doing a lot of the rebuilding himself. I spent a lot of time fixing what he had done. The paint job, we had to take it back to a bare metal. There's probably about 6 or 7 different colours that's been painted over its lifetime. Started off as a gold car, and then it was a red, and then back to a gold, it was a white, and then this colour maroon, and then we decided to stay with the same colour. But when we stripped it back, we found there was a lot of panels that had been damaged, filled with body filler, which we've been able to replace with replacement parts that are now available. Door skins, seals, you can buy brand new bonnets for them, mud guards. So yeah, basically all the filler and that's been removed from it, and it's we spent hours straightening the bonnet up and getting it as straight as the body up and getting it as straight as we can. And yeah, we're really happy with the result. It's no show car, it's no race car, but it sort of fits into both categories. It's neat enough to take to a show and attract attention, and it's fast enough to take down a quarter mile if you want to.
We travel coast to coast to show you all things automotive. If you have an interesting story about the history of your car, let us know.
Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you so.
Welcome back to Tail Fins and Chrome. More than just a classic car show, Cooly Rocks On is a celebration of nostalgia for the good old days.
We go to all different events like this because it's just like a gathering of cars and people with the same sort of style and same laid back. Because when you go around in normal towns and that, a lot of people think you're different. We are, but who cares?
I'm Milton Watkins, these are my wheels, and this is my story. I love the Cadillac because it is class and style all the way. This is my 1961 Cadillac DeVille. It is a four-door, but I like four-doors. This car has never been off the road since in its whole history. I've restored it when I bought it. I've restored it bit by bit until I've got it just right. Still a little bit to go, but I'm nearly there. Had the engine rebuilt back to standard original specs. Had the 4-speed auto also rebuilt. We replaced a lot of nuts and bolts and screws and things. We've replaced the dash and redone the interior and leather. I found this car by searching through the classifieds, and one of the importers in Melbourne had a picture of it, and it was still actually on the container in the ship on its way over, and I saw the car and I loved it. I loved the look of it and the stance it had, even the original, and I paid down my deposit before it even landed on the shores. When I drive down the road in my 61 Caddy, I feel like the king of the world.
I get asked all the time, what makes Tail Fins and Chrome different than every other car show on television? It's simple. People. We focus on the human interest side of car collecting, the stories behind the cars and the people who own them. If you know anyone that has an interesting story and a really cool car, let us know.
Welcome back to Tail Fins and Chrome. And now, an exclusive look at one of the rarest classics we've ever seen.
The 1959 Dodge Custom Roll convertible. I've owned it for 3 years, imported it myself. The 383 push button automatic. I bought it from Minnesota, had it transported to California, and then from California to the Gold Coast. It's a rare vehicle, especially for Australia, and apparently it's a rare vehicle in the States as well, being a convertible. They only made 970 of these in a convertible. The chrome and all the tail fins They stand out on their own. In Australian muscle cars, we never had these, and there's enough chrome there to make another car. I've chose the Dodge Royal because when I grew up in my younger years, I grew up with my brother-in-law and he had one of these in a two-door. And they're also hard to find here, so when this came up for sale, I had to have it. The American classic cars in Australia is very hot. You only have to go to all the hot rod shows. 90% of all the cars shown are all Americans. We live in a very hectic pace at the present moment. Those days, life was good.
The first American singer I ever heard, and I've liked him ever since, even though he's been dead since '59, was Buddy Holly. And I think he's the one, and everyone else is second best to him in my opinion. It's the 1955 FJ Holden. They were the first car to be ever manufactured in Australia. The reason they were so popular, the FJ, there was nothing like when you're a teenager cruising up and down the Gold Coast in a FJ Holden. They were very small, made of 138, but everyone hotted them up or did things to the motor. This one's got triple SUs, several other things done to the motor to make it go a bit quicker and be a bit cooler, I guess. It's got a 5-speed Toyota Celica gearbox, triple SU carbies, rack and pinion steering, things that it never came out with, and just makes it drive so much better because they were never a very good car to drive. It's just the nostalgic part about it that everybody seems to like that owns one. There's still probably 11 or 1200 registered on the road in Queensland. You often see written on the car, classic, not plastic. That's the saying that we have here, and that's right, they're all metal. That's one thing they like about them, and I think the classic shapes, the FJ, was supposed to look a bit like a jukebox, the grille in that out of the 50s sort of thing, and that's all ties in. I guess that's why we all like them.
This is my 1966 Ford Fairlane convertible. It has a 289 V8 with a 3-speed automatic. I haven't had the car that long, but I've seen photos of this car at a swap meet and was impressed with the car, so we had it imported from California. You know, it's just a standard 289 V8. It's the original motor for that car, and with the 3-speed automatic. I haven't had to work on this one, it's just been that good. It hasn't let me down. Yeah, I find driving the left-hand car quite easy, and I've let other people have a drive and they're surprised how easy it is to drive a left-hand car in Australia. I'm a bit of a sucker for convertibles, and mainly because I used to love them in the old movies that were set in America. And so it sort of carried on from there.
I love the Cadillac because it is class and style all the way.
Takes your breath away when you see them.
Just like the style, you know, the fins and the chrome.
It's the best car in the world.
When I'm cruising in the Cadillac, I feel very important. I feel like a movie star.
It's just a soft spot in my heart.
When does Cadillac, boys?
You cannot beat the Cadillac. Organising an event called Cadillac's Cruising Across the Nullarbor, and that's where we'll be driving from one end of Australia to the other. So we're starting at the Gold Coast in Queensland, and we're ending up in Busselton, which is just below Perth in Western Australia. 4,925 kilometres. We're travelling to the Cadillac Nationals, which is a big event that's held every 2 years. Some of the towns we'll be stopping in, I've already been contacted by various mayors of the town and other council people that are going to be there and welcome us at each town. And they want to see what these cars are like, because a lot of these little towns don't get to see these classic cars. When I drive down the road in my 61 Caddy, I feel like the king of the world.
Tailfins and Chrome magazine, the human interest side of all things automotive, vintage cars, classic people, exclusive video content. Available nationwide at Barnes & Noble or download on iTunes newsstand. Visit us online at tailfinsandchrome.com.
We're here at Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary. It's a beautiful spot, about 10 minutes from Cooly Rocks On, very short drive. We've been going for 67 years here now. We're a non-for-profit organisation. We were started by a gentleman called Alex Griffith, and he fed the lorikeets here to stop them eating his flowers. He was a beekeeper. And what happened was that more birds came because he was feeding them, and then more people came to watch, and he started just asking for a donation. What we've got here is all Australian wildlife. We don't believe in lions and tigers and bears. If you come here, you get to hold a koala, you get to feed kangaroos, you get to see Tasmanian devils. We've got an 18-foot crocodile here, saltwater, freshwater crocodiles, cassowaries, wombats. Wombats are a favourite for Americans. Just everything Australian, plus Aboriginal performances as well, just to tie that in. For Currumbin, cws.org.au. We'd love to see you come here to Currumbin on the beautiful Gold Coast in sunny Queensland soon. Cheers.
Want to see more? Go check out tailfinsandchrome.com.